Alrighty. So, hi, I'm Kat.
Hi, I'm Mike Richie.
Cool. So, Mike, tell me a little bit about what you do for Catalyst.
Oh, how much time you got?
As long as you have. Well,
so,
depends on the battery life.
yeah. I started working for Catalyst Game Labs in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
They purchased a company that I'd started called Rather Dashing Games.
Mm-hmm.
They were looking to expand their family-friendly board game line, and so they brought this in. And over a course of time, we folded that into the Catalyst board game division, which I now oversee. So I'm the creative director of that, which means the production, design, development of product, working trade shows. I also assist in a lot of our logistical production and shipping support.
Oh,
I mean, if you work
condolences.
if you work in the game industry, you wear multiple hats.
Yes,
That's just
you
the way
sure
it is.
do. Yep.
So that's the nutshell of what I do.
And so, how did you get into that? Are you a game designer? Are you a game enthusiast?
Yes to both.
Okay.
I started as a freelance designer in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
I designed for several different companies, and then I eventually started my own company, and then sold my company, and so now
Right.
I'm here. As a game enthusiast, I started redesigning games when I was like 10.
Right. Yep. So, what kinds of games were you starting with then? Was it the classic, like, this is a roll and write and I want to make it a better roll and write?
Oh gosh, I think some of the first stuff I did was recreate maps for Risk.
Okay.
So back
Cool.
in the day, there wasn't a Lord of the Rings Risk. There was just Risk.
Yep.
So we took that and then we would make maps to our favorite fantasy novels that we were reading and
That's
stuff like
cool.
that. We'd play Risk on that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were using the same mechanics but giving them a new environment.
For the most part, we started adding things. Most of the stuff didn't work at all, but we're kids, and so we don't really know that.
Yeah.
But we're having fun doing it. There's a game called Nuclear War by Flying Buffalo,
Mm-hmm.
and we smushed the rules of Risk and Nuclear War together, and we made Nuclear Risk.
Okay.
Which there's things like that are out now, but
Absolutely.
back then,
Yeah.
not really.
It was less common. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can almost see like a lot of the nostalgia type of stuff. Like I can see how that works in a lot of ways, right? Because people are attached to a particular property and so on. So there's a fair chance that you actually doing that now for realsies may actually even work.
Right.
I mean, obviously not you specifically, because I'm sure you have other things to do.
Oh, we got plenty of things to do
Yeah.
at any given moment.
So what kinds of things do you have to do?
For the show
Or just in general? Like, what would you like to talk about that you have to do?
Well, near and dear is always designing games. That's how I started in this industry. That's what I'm happiest.
And you still have time to do it?
Yes. I mean, I don't design. I certainly don't design all the games we produce. And I wouldn't actually want to because I think a good game company has voices from different designers and artists.
Absolutely.
But yeah, my contributions are still in there. So I will design games from the ground up, but also we'll purchase games from other designers. And sometimes it's like, okay, all this needs is a sticker, and we're ready to go. Sometimes it's a good mechanic, but needs a good theme, so on and so forth. And so we'll work to develop those products and get them ready for markets.
So are you taking pitches from people at the moment?
Yeah, we're always taking pitches.
Okay.
We've also got a pile of stuff yet to publish. So to get into our deck right now, it's got to be for something pretty special. That said, we're always happy to look.
And I mean, to be fair, all publishers, whether they're big or small, if you get signed with them, it's not going to be published tomorrow anyway.
No.
So
not.
like if you get even into like 2026, 2027, you're doing pretty well.
Correct.
Right. Where are you up to with your plans? Are you 2027?
2027,
2030?
Yeah. I mean, we keep our schedule pretty fluid. Like there's stuff we know we want to do, and then there's stuff we're contractually obligated to do because we also Catalyst is also very much a licensing company.
Mm-hmm.
We're the largest licensors for BattleTech and Shadowrun.
Mm-hmm.
We're also working on the banners are up at Gen Con, so I guess I can talk about it. We're doing a Frostpunk role-playing game. We're doing a Voltron role-playing game. We're doing some stuff with Kung Fu Panda. We actually announced something that we're doing something with Snoop Dogg and Master P. We're all over the map right now. And that includes some very cool indie projects we've got going on.
Like what?
Well, there's one called Flippin' Ninja. It was pitched to us several years ago, and it's about to go into production. Art's gorgeous. We hired this amazing artist that has worked with like on Crunchyroll and stuff like that to give it a really nice Japanese feel.
Oh, awesome.
We've got something that we're actually can't talk about it just yet because we don't even know if it can be made. Like someone gave us this cool 3-dimensional game, and we're trying to see if it can be made at a rate that you could make a profit off of. But it's genius, and we're hoping to be able to do that. One of my most successful games that I've designed, called Elements, has gone back. It's been out of stock for about a year and a half now. It's gone back. We're redoing all of the artwork with Echo Chernik, who does a lot of our Shadowrun art.
Yes, I know that name.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it. I know that name. Yeah.
So she's going to be doing that for us. There's a lot. There's a lot going on, and that's just my division. To say nothing about BattleTech and Shadowrun.
Exactly. Like there's so much going on at Catalyst. It's hard to actually even keep track of it all.
It's hard for us to keep track of it all. Yeah.
Even from the outside, it's a lot. But yeah, from the inside, it must be quite a bit going on. So you're basically acting in a way as like a publisher in terms of like for the people who come from the board game side of things, when they talk to someone who's the publisher, you would pitch to them and things like that. But you're also doing other stuff, aren't you? And like as part of your role, you're not just the sort of give me a game and I make a game.
Right. No, I handle a lot of our logistics. I'm here helping with the booth. A lot of our international shipping. Wow. I take care of. We all kind of assist each other too. I work a lot, very closely with Lauren and Randall, the Picard and Riker of the company, getting products developed and out the door and things like that. And so Randall right now is working on one of the things I'm most excited about, and that's Runefire, which is a collaborative effort with Paizo. So it is a Pathfinder card game. So it's a team, cooperative dungeon crawling Pathfinder card game.
So tell me a little bit about Pathfinder.
About Pathfinder itself. Pathfinder is it shares a common ancestor with Dungeons and Dragons. So they broke up. Paizo broke off and started developing Pathfinder, which was basically Dungeons and Dragons 3.5. But then they surged ahead, and over the years have really built it into their own fully unique standalone property, and they treat their employees extremely well. That's
what we love to hear.
They're very creative. I consider it an honor to be working with the people over at Paizo, and being allowed to develop lore, develop story for Pathfinder, things like that. I personally, even off to the side, play mostly Pathfinder.
Okay.
So this is a really cool opportunity for Catalyst. We know the engine is solid because we've published iterations for Shadowrun and Dungeons and Dragons before. That was several years ago. The game has been massively updated with the rules to make it feel more like a Pathfinder game.
Okay.
The way Pathfinder works versus Dungeons and Dragons or Shadowrun. So it's been heavily customized.
So it's a tried and true core product, but it's definitely not just another reskin.
No, definitely not a reskin.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, shares its DNA, absolutely. And if you played the previous iterations, obviously you'd be an advantage to pick it up and go. But we changed a lot to make it Pathfinder. And
in terms of it being a card game, do you mean like a CCG, TCG kind of card game, or is it a standalone? It's
more of a living card game, where you buy the core box and there will be expansions that come along, but there's no blind boxes or anything like that. It's you lay out the adventure. There's essentially, for lack of a better word, an AI built into the decks of cards that as you progress, you work as a team to defeat monsters, get treasure, level up. And there's a progressive storyline as it goes.
So there's a story in this card game. That's interesting.
Part living card game, part legacy game, but not a legacy game in the fact you have to like tear up cards or put
okay, good. Because I don't like those.
Right.
I always feel bad. Like it seems wasteful. Like I get it, but also
the closest part to that is you have a character card and you put stickers on it.
Okay.
But that's your character sheet. When you start another character, you'll grab another sheet with more stickers. But you're not altering the components of the game itself.
And I know a lot of people love the stickers. So
yeah, I like the stickers. It's what makes my monk powerful. Yeah.
So you also mentioned logistics.
Sure.
That's like the thing that most people and don't want anything to do with. How did that happen to you?
I guess in order to volunteer at Catalyst, you do not have to step forward. You just need to be the last person to step back.
Right.
No, there was just
the bear catches you because everyone else runs faster.
Right.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was just there was a need to be fulfilled, and I could do it. Right.
Fulfilled.
Yeah. I made a
That's
pun.
very good.
Usually I make my puns on purpose.
Yeah, well, look, we're just going to say that was on purpose, right?
We're going to cut that and add in post, little pun stuff right here. So it's just something I've been able to assist with in the company, and I'm happy I can.
And you're good at it?
I don't know that I'm good at it, but I'm not bad at it.
Right. Because it's very hard to do that side of it. It's
Right.
We've just finished our first Kickstarter, and so this is the stuff that I'm learning, and I'm learning that my brain doesn't do that.
Right.
My husband's brain does that. There are two of us in this company. It's great.
Yeah.
I can just be like,
you can take this part.
I don't want this one.
Right.
I want this bit. I don't want this bit. Is that what happened? Or did you actually step in and be like, actually, this is kind of cool. I quite like it.
Oh, no, I stepped in because it needed to be done. And that's fine. I don't mind it. It's, it's would I rather be playing Pathfinder? Absolutely. But but at the end of the day, this is what gets product to our fans.
And it must be satisfying.
That part really is.
Like when when you get one of those cascading effects.
Yep.
For me, that's what getting all of the literal ducks in a row for this kind of thing feels like, right? I've managed to, I've been doing all this planning, and then now I get to boom, 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 play that big thing, and everyone's like, or more often they don't even know. They don't even understand. They're just like, yes, this arrived exactly the way it should have.
Right. They're only happy when it goes wrong. Unhappy when it goes wrong.
And making it happen when, getting everything right is...
There's so many moving parts to production. And especially, not so much now, things have mostly bounced back, but pandemic era, we try to use pretty high quality components. And so I put in a request to our manufacturer for a specific deck of cards, right? And I said, I want this paperweight and such, and
Black Core 350.
And they're like, we can't, because Pokemon bought the world supply, global supply during the pandemic.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know that there was also a cardboard shortage until very recently, and that's, folks, why your board game prices are going up, because it is hard to get the bits.
Yeah. But then shipping, you put stuff on a container, has to cross an ocean, then it has to get to a warehouse, then it has to get to a retail store, and then it's got to get to the customer. There's a lot of moving parts. And
people have to pick the right bits and put the bits in the thing, and there's so much.
But at the end of the day, when you back when I was the garage band, Rather Dashing Games, we had this kind of cool logo with a steampunk guy with goggles and stuff. He was actually based off my grandfather. And
that's lovely.
A guy comes up and he has it this big. It's the pilot in a gear, which was the logo, tattooed on his leg. And I'm like, I don't have that tattooed anywhere. But he's like, no, you don't understand. And he proceeds some of the story about how his family was falling apart, and they decided to come to Gen Con, and they found our booth, and they bought all our games, and they started family game night, and now they're doing so much better, and on. And so then you're like, oh, okay, that 3 a.m. call with China over shipping really was worth it.
You kind of saved the world there. For that little group of people, you saved the world. That's amazing.
And that is so, and that's not indicative of my games or my company. I heard hundreds of stories like that through the industry of how gaming brings people together, helps people, keeps people literally alive at times. So.
Yeah. Especially with this pandemic situation that we've all been living through, there's just so much isolation. And board games are, one of the reasons I don't play them online is because for me, it is a physical experience. I want to play a game in front of me on a table.
Yeah, I always do too. But
you can't beat that. No. There's so much going on, the people around the table and the things that happen above the game and all of those sorts of things.
And the snacks.
The snacks are pretty important.
Yeah. So my Pathfinder group one time, I had COVID, so obviously I couldn't go. But they left they decided to do barbecue. They left barbecue on my door and knocked and ditched, and then put me on Skype. And would I prefer to be in person 100% of the time.
Oh, but that's lovely that they made you able to still be part of that. Yeah. That's really, and see, that's the thing with this community that I've really noticed is this connection. People that you barely know, you get to know them suddenly very well in just these areas through games. Mm-hmm. That must feel amazing being part of building that.
It very much does. There's a lot of talented game designers out there. And every time I see, I'll walk around Gen Con, right? And I'll see a game that I'm like, part of me is like, oh, why didn't I think of that, right? But then I see the joy that people are playing. Like one of the things I'm currently playing right now is Adventure Party. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yes, that's by my friend
Kurt
from Smoke and Dagger. Yes.
Okay, I love Kurt.
Yes.
And I think Adventure Party is, if you judge a game on what it's trying to do, like what it promises to deliver, there are a few games that try to deliver an experience like that could even come close. I've gotten young, I chaperoned for young men's groups and stuff. I get them to play it. We'll play in the lobby with hardcore gamers. Play it with people that would turn their nose up at Dungeons and Dragons, right? Because not because they don't like it, but they're scared of the rules, right? And so we've been playing a lot of that. And my point being is that it's the power of games that you can have 10 people sitting around a table, completely diverse, politically, religiously, ethnically, and they're all having fun together.
It's an extremely accessible game, actually. We played it, a small amount of it, very late at night one night at the Gathering of Friends earlier this year. And I'm not an RPG person. So I'm coming into Catalyst going, what is all of this? But I played that and I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I don't necessarily understand the terminology or the stories that this is coming from, but I can do it.
Right.
I can just walk straight in and be part of this. And it was really cool and it was really simple and really interesting and accessible. And I was like, oh, good work.
I've also noticed that games can bring, and Adventure Party is one of them, but games in general can bring introverted people out of their shells quite a bit.
Yes.
So my son, who's 12, can be a little shy around adults, but he's sitting in around a group of people, pantomime and acting out a polymorphed giant hamster with boots of stomping, taking out a horde of skeletons.
And it gives you this opportunity to live. I mean, fantasy has become a word that you can't really use that way, but I suppose live like this imaginary experience where you can just lean into whatever it is, and it's part of the game, and the game gives you permission in a way that kids don't necessarily get to do without the permission of the game.
Right.
And so, because there's so much, judgment and all those sorts of, you can just play, you can be silly.
And just have fun.
And the other thing is, when you grow up, officially, you have to stop these things. Well, why are games so popular these days? Because we need this.
Fantasy is not only good, I believe it's necessary.
Yeah.
I think when you are able to look at life, good and bad, through the lens of your fandoms, things can make more sense to you. There are people who have found core spiritual beliefs not through traditional religions or philosophies, but through Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or
Star Trek,
what have you. And I think that's wonderful. I think those are wonderful tools.
The human core of it is that we all need something to be excited about.
Correct.
We need something. We need stories. Humans need stories.
Yes.
And if our own lives are not the story we want to think about right now, it's nice to have an alternative, especially an alternative you can sit down and play for a couple of hours with your friends and just be like...
Well, even just a shared cultural experience,
yes.
Right? Like, we had to move in a lot of pallets yesterday, right? So it equates to a few truckloads, right? We're all scrambling, we're all doing our thing. And we get the first truck off, right? And after that, it goes smoothly, but it's getting to that point. All of a sudden, this meme goes out from our boss, and it's a little picture of a rebel transport. Says, the first transport is away. The first transport. And, we all get the joke. We're all working really hard together. And then that cultural reference makes us laugh.
Yep.
Makes it just makes us keep going. And I think the power of fantasy, and when I say fantasy, I mean it all, science fiction, the power of make-believe. Imagination is, I think, board games are a lens that hones that.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
That's really, I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is that something you've thought about before, or did that just come out?
Very often. I kind of gelled it into those specific words, but it's a belief I've held for a long time.
It's something I've been sort of attempting to express as well, because why is tabletop such an important part of how I interact with people? Well, that's it. It's that whatever we're living right now is the thing we're doing, and that's super cool. And then I can just literally put it away in its box and get on with whatever else I'm doing. But that's sort of, cruising along in my mind, and I can think about it like, oh, that time that I played, Boop the Halls and I won. Oh, that was fun.
I haven't played Boop the Halls yet. I've played Boop.
I played the prototype.
I've played Boop. But
I played the other two, but I think Boop the Halls is my favorite.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay, looking forward to that.
It's got extra stuff. I like the extra stuff. I'm allowed to tell you about the extra stuff if you want.
Go for it. Yeah,
It's super simple. It's just there are, apart from it being 3D instead of it being flat, there's also like the layout of the map is slightly different. So there's kind of an extra like apron almost that comes out. And there's also, you have ornaments.
Okay.
And there are two different ways to win now. And there's the standard way of getting your line of 3, or you can knock all of your opponents'
In true
ornaments
cat
down.
fashion.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I absolutely love it. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that then.
It is very cool.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's my favorite. It's the one that I enjoyed the most. And part of it was the sort of the difference of it being 3D and having to look around the tree and pay attention to things, and the literal knocking ornaments down.
Yeah. It's so cattish.
Yeah. Made me very happy. But see, that's that.
Yeah.
I'm in this game right now. I'm thinking of a Christmas tree and I'm being a cat.
Yep.
That's the thing. And all it actually is a really abstract game.
It's an abstract with the perfect skin put on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's a lot of game design stuff, is understanding how to make those things all click together in the right ways so that you're telling that cool story and you're crafting that amazing experience for people. And
Abstracts are one of my favorites.
Yes.
I coined a phrase for it. I'm trying to get it to catch on to trend. It's thematic abstract. So hashtag thematic abstract. It's where, because a lot of our abstracts now, Boop is a thematic abstract. It is an abstract game, but the cat theme not only makes it more fun, but it helps you imagine the mechanics.
Yes. And they tie back into each other.
Yeah.
And it explains why you're doing stuff.
Azul,
Yes.
Santorini, Onitama, My Game Element. All of those have the theme adds to the abstract.
Yes. And explains why you're doing things and how you're doing things and adds extra flavor to that's a very good way of putting it, because a lot of people say that abstract means it can't have a theme.
Right.
And I do not agree.
I don't agree with that at all. Chess has a theme. War.
Yes.
Medieval war.
You've literally got a king and a queen and a knight, and things are happening. There's fighting and there's people are invading each other's territories. Like it is absolutely
a thematic
theme. Yeah. I mean, checkers, no.
No, not checkers.
No, because it's just there's nothing really.
Right.
Yeah.
But so what do you like to play? You say you're not much of an RPG person.
I like puzzly tile laying abstract type games. I like ones where I can make patterns. I can feel like I've created some kind of a pattern in some way.
So Azul is a good one to bring up.
I love Azul.
Okay.
Yep, that's one of them. But also where if there's any sense of creating a pattern.
Okay, cool. That's interesting.
So Wingspan works that way. There's a sense of a pattern in that for me.
Okay.
So engine builders in general feel like I can create a pattern because I can sort of go, boom.
Yeah, now this does this and this does that.
Exactly, yeah.
Start that cascading effect.
Yes,
cool.
Exactly.
Right.
So any time I can start from these bits that I've put together and go, more.
Do you do that? Yeah, let's say wow. Okay, good.
I design games like that as well. Like a lot of my games are what you would call thematic abstract. So,
so what have you designed?
The only one that's almost published is BubbleNet, which we've just completed the Kickstarter for, and it's
congratulations.
Thank you. My reflex is always never to do the same thing. So if you had done that, I would have done that. Sorry, it's a weird thing.
So rock paper. We'll never tie in rock paper scissors.
Pretty much.
Lizard spot.
Actually, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just me being contrary, but also that. Yeah. But so it's a simple 10-minute game where you're playing as a pod of humpback whales, and your average humpback whale hunts by lunge fishing, so they just lunge at the fish. It's not very efficient. But these whales have figured out if they blow a spiral of bubbles around the fish, it confuses them, clumps them together, and they get a higher quality bite. So that's my spiel that I've done many times.
Is that a real thing?
It's real.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
It's real.
Okay.
It's very rare. Most whales don't do that, but some isolated pods do it.
Interesting.
And so obviously I was like, ooh, spiral, bubbles, interesting, cool, huh? And so I just basically drew a spiral on a piece of paper. And then I had these little glass bubble bead things, and I put them on there, and I went, And I ended up having this system where you're placing bubbles that push the fish inwards, and you've got your buddies to help you pushing them in. And then what you're aiming to do is get a big chomp of those fish, but there are cards that say where the fish try and escape, and you can't anticipate that.
Okay.
And so that's what's happening. So you heard they try and escape. You heard they try and escape. Super simple, not terribly
That sounds very interesting.
difficult.
Better check it out. Yeah.
Oh, it's on Back-A-Kit now.
Oh.
If you would like to,
Find
what
the
is
link
it
here.
called? Link somewhere. But yeah, that's the kind of thing that I enjoy making. Is like it's based on a real thing that happens, but it is abstracted into a pattern that you can create with your game.
Cool. Awesome.
So you said Elements is that kind of game.
Element is that kind. We have several like that. We have Elements, which, like I said, out of print, but back for new art. Seasons of Arcadia is like that. The Duke. Well, there's a trilogy: the Duke, Jarl, and Centurion. They're all based on the same abstract engine. That's more, classical warfare style.
But yes, so your games, we have a bunch of exciting board games from Catalyst that people can come and check out. I saw Centurion on the thing that's about to go up in the air.
I hope it's up. We also have Fandooble and the Dragon's Eye and Parachute Panda to come check out.
Now, Fandooble, I've heard that word several times, but I know nothing about it. Tell me what this thing is.
Okay, Fandooble is a rascally little gnomish rogue, and he's convinced a bunch of his, cohorts, not friends so much, to come rob a dragon with him. But he has no compulsion about leaving them behind to die. So you are trying to rob a dragon and steal from your friends too, as you're stealing from the dragon.
So take that.
Yeah, a lot of take that. You want to, and it's a push your luck dice game, and you want to end the game with the highest value of gems, treasure, like gold, like coins. And chances are to win, you'll need the Dragon's Eye. But the longer the game goes on, the higher the scores get exponentially. So the less value the Dragon's Eye has.
Oh, so you need to end it at the right time where
Right.
proportionately the Dragon's Eye has the best value.
Exactly. Or you've dragged the game out and it doesn't matter that you don't have it because you have the highest score anyway.
Right. So if someone else has it, then you want to your strategy is to drag it out until you can dragging it out. Okay. So Fandooble, and how long is it to play?
It's 2-6 players, 10 to 20 minutes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So it's your light and fast.
Yeah.
Party line-ish.
Yep.
Party game-ish. Wow.
Not party game in like apples to apples sense, but definitely a casual roll your dice, get angry at each other while you're playing type of game.
So filler, sort of up or down, and kind of in between. Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool. That sounds good. We like those games. They're hitting really well right now. From what I can see of the industry in general, that kind of things that sit there are doing
Agreed.
particularly well.
And Parachute Panda is doing really well for us too. So that's that is even more stab each other in the back. A bunch of pandas have decided to go skydiving, but their pilot has dropped them over a den of hungry crocodiles. And as you jump out of the plane, you realize if you're the last panda down, maybe they'll be too full of your friends to eat you too. So it's a panda, hand a panda, and anvil kind of world.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So think Looney Tunes humor. I'm handing you an anvil, or I'm going to drop a piano on you while I have a balloon to go up. And you want to be the last. It's a race to be last.
That sounds very silly.
Yeah. Oh, it's very silly. Both games were done by an artist named Tina Bongiorno, and she's got this really awesome take on perspective and just the silly comedic feel. So both those games are doing quite well for us, and but they're for sale here at Gen Con for the first time because they're both
so are they Gen Con launches?
Not launches. Parachute Panda launched in February. I believe Fandooble launched in April.
But this is their first
Gen
time.
Con, yeah.
Right. This is their first Gen
Yeah,
Con.
just like it was the first Origins, and it did awesome at Origins, right?
Oh, well, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Okay, so what people should be looking out for in terms of board games at the Catalyst booth at Gen Con then is...
Well, at the Catalyst board game booth will be all of that stuff. The Catalyst main booth will still be all the BattleTech, all the Shadowrun, all of that, all the stuff that people know Catalyst for and have known for the last 17 years. But the Catalyst board game booth is adjacent to the Catalyst main booth, and we have all the fun family stuff.
And I noticed some dice.
Oh yeah, we just got bags and bags of dice from our friends over at ChessX, and they're branded with our little Erlenmeyer flask and with Catalyst Game Labs on them, so they're kind of collector dice for.
Cool.
Yeah, they're cool.
How does one get one of these dice?
I actually don't know. I think you just got to come to the booth and ask for it. But don't hold me to that. But
Or maybe it's with purchase or something.
it
like
might
that.
be. It might be some dice with purchase, or like they showed up and I literally had nothing to do with their production. So I was like, we got dice. So
Yeah, I saw Mike with the dice before, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Ooh, dice! I love dice." That's where we're at with BubbleNet at the moment. We have an extra angle on that where we've got dice instead of the cards, so we're busy deciding dice. Like we hadn't planned to have dice; it was an expansion, and now we're going dice. How does one decide?
right. Oh,
So-
jeez.
It's interesting, and so now I'm like, dice. Hello, dice.
Hello,
Look at
dice.
the dice. Yeah. Well, on that, I think we can probably roll out.
Okay. Autobots.
Yes. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. This has been a
And-
blast.
Yeah, I really enjoyed hearing about how you got here and all the stuff that you've thought of and all the cool things that will be available for people to purchase. And thank you for logisticating it.